Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of Manifesting Muslimah. I'm your host, Zara Pedersen, and today's episode is going to be a quick little one where I'm just going to, well, I don't know if it's going to be quick. I never know those things. I always think to myself, it's just going to be a quick little topic today, quick little episode, just 10 minutes and I'll be popping off again. And then, 40 minutes later here, I'll be still sitting down, recording and babbling on. But as you may have noticed, I took off some time from the podcast. I haven't uploaded an episode in a week and a half, and that was a very deliberate decision on my behalf. And it's actually kind of about that we're going to talk, or the topic is today, because I could feel myself getting a little bit burned out with everything that's been happening recently in my life. I could feel that energetically I was kind of falling behind a bit. And so I decided to take a little bit of a step back and just focus on my own energy. So let's talk about that specific topic today, about focusing on your own energy. So to give you a little bit of a backstory, I have spent the last year and a half living in Spain following my divorce, and I rented a house for a year in Spain. And I've told you, and if you're new here, then you might not know that, and there's probably all sorts of other episodes where I talk more in depth about that decision. I'm not going to do that today, but my lease was up in the middle of March, and so I had to move, and I had to give away my chickens and my turkey to my neighbors. And instead of moving to, another home, I've decided to continue my travels around Europe and, just driving around, road tripping around Europe with my two dogs. And so while I was moving, the last week of my move was also, the week that Ramadan began. So I was fasting, I was moving out of the first home I've ever had in Spain. I don't know if I'll ever have more. I didn't even know I was going to have a first home in Spain to begin with. So, we'll just allow Allah's plan to come together for us. And it's so far been so pleasant and so much fun and interesting. And I'm so grateful for it. So let's see what happens. But, moving out of that first home, saying goodbye to, my pets that I'd come to love so much and the lifestyle that I'd created for myself in that beautiful, wonderful home that I had in Spain. And then moving to the other side of Spain, literally, driving for like 9-10 hours. I can't remember how long it was. And now being in another Airbnb, and then still, getting used to not having a base, still fasting, still going through Ramadan, and also having, Manifesting Muslimah, my family being, miles away from me, thousands of miles, in another country. And there was just so much going on and very little time for me in a lot of ways to get, accustomed to what was going on. There was very little time for me just to sit down and be like, oh, okay, one chapter has officially ended here and you're beginning something new and you don't know what's going to happen. And there's very little plan. I'm not a big planner in general, but there was very little plans for what I wanted to do. All I was just thinking was like, let's just go with the flow. But ultimately what happened was a lot of things happened at once, in a very short period of time, plus having Ramadan and, I'm very open about like the fatigue of fasting, which is a very physical, normal reaction of being very tired and having my sleep schedule completely knocked off its track and being awake most nights, sleeping most days, or having trouble staying awake most days. And so I just found myself, about 2 weeks ago where I felt really burnt out, or not really burnt out, but like on that precipice of like, okay, if you're not careful now, you're going to burn out properly, and then it's going to be not so fun to be you. So I had to make a decision of like, you know what, I am going to show myself some grace and I am going to take a few step backs with certain things. And that was first and foremost the content that I was putting out for Manifesting Muslimah. And the first place was with the podcast. And then I, also did the same a little bit with TikTok. I took a couple of days off, not posting as much and just being a little bit more deliberate with some of the things that I was posting. And it was really helpful to me. And what I want, and the reason why I'm sharing this and what I want for you in this is hopefully to take some inspiration to know when and how to do this for yourself. Because I don't think that many of us are very aware of our energetic costs and drains throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, so on and so on and so forth. And I think there's such a societal expectation not to take breaks unless you're taking a holiday, to just continue going even though a lot of things have happened. So, unless even actually even if there is a death, there's still this within the family or close to you, there's still this expectation of like, oh, well, it's been a couple of weeks, you must be fine to get back to work now or whatever. It's like always this expectation to be like, okay, now I'm bounce back, and get back up on the horse and whatever the sayings are of, yeah, just kind of get on with things now. You'll be fine. Or don't rest too much, you'll get lazy. Or, don't take too much of a break. There are other people waiting and you'll miss out. And then, you're going to spend your time trying to catch up with basically nothing other than, expectations that are being placed upon you by yourself or other people around you. And so we have this tendency of every time we feel drained or tired or burnt out, that we should just keep going, and that eventually it's going to sort itself out, and then eventually we'll have a holiday and then we'll take the break or whatever. There's always like, I'll do it when. And the truth is that we shouldn't be thinking about it that way. Now, I know that not everybody has the luxury of just being able to take the time off whenever they want to. But we need to be very, very aware of our energetic output on a daily basis and figure out when we need to reset a little bit and when we need to start looking at, okay, where am I placing my energy? Where can I adjust how much energy I give that thing? If I can't stop it completely, where do I want to give more energy to? And then that way we can control our energetic output in a much more sustainable way, where we can continuously be in a positive space energetically, where we're not draining ourselves. The thing about energy, and I think because it is such a hippy dippy woo woo topic for a lot of people, we don't necessarily think of it as like, unless it's like literal, like, oh, I didn't sleep last night, but just also the energy that we're giving each other constantly when we're out and about and meeting each other and at work. All of these things we're starting to understand have an effect on us, and it does drain us or it gives us energy. And we're starting to understand now that energy it's not necessarily that it is a measurable amount by us, but it is certainly a finite amount. It is not an infinite. We don't have an infinite amount of energy within us. I mean, it is literal life. When you're dead, you don't have any more energy. Your soul has it, but the body is done, right? So energy is such an interesting thing, but we're starting to understand now that energy is given above just whether or not you have slept well one night. It is also where else it can come from, and that you can restore it, you can use it faster. Some people drain it, some people give more of it. And so we're starting to come around to that kind of thinking more and more. But the more we start appreciating and respecting that way of thinking and respecting our bodies as being energetic creatures, the easier it'll be for us to also respect our own boundaries and understand that our energy is a very precious resource. Just like a lot of people now, if you ask, billionaires and multi-millionaires and whatever, what's a resource they value, they'll say time, because time is finite, and they've cracked the code to money. So money is not, a thing anymore that's so on top of their mind. It is rather time, because you can't buy more time. When you're going to die, you're going to die. And so this is why you have people trying to create artificial intelligence, trying to prolong life. You've got all these billionaires doing all of these extreme things with all kinds of healthy research and trials and stuff to try and prolong their lives because they want more time. And I would say time and energy, both of those things kind of come right like at the top before anything else. Time and energy, those should be your most valued and precious resources in this life, because these are things that the first one you can't get back again. Time is, you spent it or you haven't. That's it. And the thing is, you're constantly spending of it, and that's it. And we know from our religion, when your time is up, your time is up. And Allah has already preordained that before we come into this world, right? And energy, we should look at it in the same way, because it is such a important resource for us in how we respond to everything around us and the effect that it has on us. So let's say that, you are, generally speaking, a very positive person, but if you are drained energetically, you will have less patience. You'll be easier to upset and you'll be irritated. You might be grumpy. Things like that. You might start slacking on things that, if you're used to working out, you might start not working out because you don't have the energy for it. You might slack on your diet, start eating more unhealthy, whatever it might be. So these are things that have direct impact on your quality of life. Direct impact on your quality of life. And I would argue, at least to a certain extent, so please don't come for me here, but to a certain extent, money doesn't even have that kind of impact on you, because you can live a very beautiful life on little to no money. Lots of people do it. Or you can live a very crappy life with tons of money. So money doesn't necessarily have an impact, because that comes from your energy, how you spend money. So it's an energetic thing. So time and energy should be the resources that you protect at all costs. And so that also means you need to learn and understand how you operate on an energetic level. And to begin with, that might, again, if you're new to this world, it might sound really woo-woo and out there for you, but really take a moment to think about when you felt the most energetic. Who were you around? What were you doing? Where were you in the world? What led up to that thing? Was there a sense of achievement, success, abundance, gratitude? What was going on in your life at the time when you felt energetically the most present and content and in peace and in love and all of those things? And think of where you are today and start thinking of where has the energy shifted? What's the difference between then and now? What can I do to protect my energy more, to bring myself back to an energetically more empowered position? And energy, I also just want to say this before I continue, because I think it's really important to understand the energy is not necessarily whether or not you're tired. We're not talking about exhaustion, sleep exhaustion, although that obviously also has a role to play. That is part of our energy, of course, in the sleep versus awake cycle. But I'm talking about just the energy as well, to say I'm not physically tired because I sleep well, but I don't have the energy to see friends, or I don't have the energies to go that extra mile, or I don't have the energy or the capacity to take on that new project that I want to take on. So it might not have anything to do with you necessarily being like tired in a sleepy way. It could just be that you feel like there's no energy to compensate for whatever it is that you want to take on, or whatever it is that you're currently doing. And in that moment, also being aware of where you're placing your energy now and where you could budget your energy. I think it's so fun that we often have, financial budgets. We also have caloric budgets, exercise budgets. We will figure out where we're spending our money, where our money is basically just trickling away and makes us feel as if we're not abundant anymore at the end of the month. We have caloric budgets where I can have 2,200 calories a day, and if I have too much less than that, then I'll be tired, or it'll impact my exercise goals, or then I'll gain weight or whatever. And we'll have again also exercise budgets. If I walk too much more than that, then I'll have a pain in my knee or in my back. Or if I don't walk, or if I don't exercise, then I'll have a pain in my knee or in my back. Both of those things can give you pain in your knees or your backs. And I'm speaking from experience as a personal trainer, okay? So I know these things. But it's just, we have budgets for absolutely everything in our lives, but somehow it's not become normal to have an energy budget as well, like your personal energy budget. So this is me basically inviting you to make an energy cheap budget. And unlike a lot of other budgets, this isn't necessarily something you can sit down and write down in an Excel sheet, or maybe you can, I don't know, maybe you're that kind of creatively inclined, and if you can, share it. I mean, please tag me on Instagram at Manifesting Muslima and share how you would create that spreadsheet, because I'm very curious. But figure out, where are you spending a lot of energy? Who are the people that require a lot of energy for you? You know that some people in your life, when you've spent time with them, you come back and you feel drained because they're almost like energy vampires. They'll just take so much of your energy, and you feel that you use a lot of energy to try and cheer them up, or to make them do something or whatever, or just to feel comfortable in their, in their presence. Sometimes they're not even doing anything. It's just because you don't feel safe in their presence, so you're using a lot of energy to try and keep yourself safe, something like that. And then there are other people where you've spent 5, 10, 12 a week, hours a week, whatever it is, with these people, and you still come back and you still have more energy. You're like, I could continue for another 6 months. I'm totally fine. This person inspires and motivates and feeds everything inside of me. But figure out the people around you, who's giving you the energy. Where do you feel like you're spending a lot of energy? Same thing with the activities, your job, things around your house. There might be certain areas in your house where you're like, oh, I just feel so drained every time I have to look for clothes in my wardrobe, because every time I look at the clothes in my wardrobe, it's cluttered. I can never find anything that fits me. And so the energy that you have to then, spend just to look for an outfit every morning is too much, when it could be simplified and you could save that energy and spend it elsewhere. We all have, once we start taking stock of the energy that we use in our everyday lives, we will notice these little energy drains somewhere in our days. Quite often, for a lot of people, it'll be stuff like social media, right? Because we don't know what we're going to get every time we scroll. So while one post can uplift us, the next post within split seconds will make us feel bad. The next one will make us feel angry. The next one agitated. The next one at peace again. Well, not really peace, because you still have that cortisol and the anger and the frustrations hanging from the last few posts. And then you scroll again, and then there's somebody endorsing Starbucks, and then you're angry again and disappointed and hurt and whatever. So a lot of people will know that social media doesn't invigorate them. It doesn't give them energy. It actually just steals their energy. So quite often, just by understanding that, we can start limiting our social media usage every day, things like that. Same with the people. If we know who's draining us, we can start limiting our exposure to those people, maybe spend less time with them and spend more time with the people who give us a lot of energy, makes us feel energized being around them. If there are places around your house where you're like, ugh, just looking at that clutter makes me feel drained, maybe it's a good time for you then to be like, hey, I'm going to set aside a day where I tackle that clutter so that it no longer drains me just to even think about it. If there's a specific situation, a conversation that you haven't had, remember there's energy in absolutely everything. So it can be anything. So this is again why I say, like, if you it's not necessarily sitting down and making a physical spreadsheet, but you will know, once you sit down and try and take stock, you will know what areas in your life need tweaking and adjusting. And once you start doing that, you'll notice how big of an impact it has on you, not just within yourself, but your whole outlook on life, the way that life responds back to you and every situation that you're walking into, because you're no longer coming in as a drained person who has energy leaks absolutely everywhere and in every situation and no control over her own energy. You're walking in as this abundant, energetic creature who knows how they're spending their energy, how to use their energy, how to take energy from other people in a consensual way. Because we can sometimes just take, again, energy from other people. We don't want to necessarily do that, but consensually exchange energies, and that'll make you a magnetic person. physically a magnetic person to other people. People want to be around you. I constantly get from people, oh my goodness, Zara, I can't believe you're an introvert. You're so much fun to be around. I'm not saying this because I'm trying to like polish my own halo here and stuff like that. Trust, I'm not. I'm saying this because once I started to learn how to do this, I became a literal magnet to other people. People want to be in my company because I've learned to control my energy. But it's still draining to me to be around a lot of people, which is why I choose to be quite of an introvert. So if I have an event where I see a lot of people, you best believe I will take a minimum of 2 days, if not 3 days after that event, just to relax and take care of myself and refuel my energies and top up of my energy. But that's literal. You can become this very magnetic person that people will want to be around because your energy is stable. It is somewhere that feels safe for them to be around. That's the kind of person you will want to be. And also, attraction wise, when it comes to the law of attraction, you'll become a far more magnetic person because your energy is stable. So you're constantly ringing from one energetic frequency rather than toppling around, and one moment you're grateful and then you're exhausted and then you're angry and then you're at peace. And law of attraction operates off of energies, right? The more you can stay in one frequency, the easier it'll be for you to attract the same frequency back in return. So as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to us in the Quran, when you are grateful, I will give you more and more gratitude, right? Stay in that frequency of gratitude. The more grateful you are, the more you will receive. But if you jump out of gratitude, that's where, lack can come in, jealousy can come in, resentment can come in, all of these other things that interfere and makes us unable to stay in that energy of receiving because you are grateful. And that'll have a huge impact on your ability to manifest. Okay, I'm going to take a breath. You know what? I'm not even just going to take a breath. I'm going to stop right here. I feel like there was a lot of information already. I think also this is such a different, I feel almost different topic for me to speak on in this way on the podcast. So if you have any questions about this, feel free to reach out to me over on my Instagram at Manifesting Muslimah and ask the questions. Let me know what you feel about this topic as well. I'm back again now. So there should be at least like a couple of months, inshallah, where you're not going to get any disturbances on how frequently I upload. But just keep in mind that I am the kind of person now that knows when I need to take a step back. So if that happens again, I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm going to say thank you instead for your patience, and thank you for your continued support and understanding as one, from one energetic creature to another, that, hey, there's a person who's learned to set some boundaries energetically, and what a wonderful thing, and good for that person. And even if you could say, oh, I could continue doing it, it doesn't cost me anything, I'm so happy for you for being able to do that. That's not me. So anyway, now I'm actually going to stop talking. But again, give me your feedback. Also, if you haven't done so already, please feel free to leave me a review wherever you're listening to this podcast from. It does actually help out the podcast a lot. Thank you so much for tuning in again to another episode. And until next time, my darling friend, please don't forget to live in love.